Well, he's only 6 years old, and doctors have given him a diagnosis no parent ever wants to hear.
Jacob Geer's parents say that they're racing against the clock, trying to raise awareness about a rare, incurable disease that's slowly robbing their son of pretty much everything, and in a few years will take his life.
Here's 24 Hour News 8's Rachel Ruiz.
Who are you gonna be? You killed my kid! Who are you gonna be?
Fact is, 6-year-old Jacob Geer will always be a kid. Instead of one day becoming an adult, very soon this Caledonia boy will go blind, lose his ability to hold toys, to walk, and will become bedridden. His parents, Rob and Chris Geer, helpless. As they say, it's happening already.
We have a slide outside that last year he could go up and go down, and he can't do that anymore.
It's all because of a genetic disorder of the nervous system known as Batten Disease. The Geers got the diagnosis a year ago.
I was just newly pregnant with our youngest, and Rob had just lost his job of 17 years, so all hit us all at the same time.
Jacob now takes 12 pills a day to control his seizures, sees countless doctors, is fed by a tube, and the 6-year-old will be lucky if he celebrates his 12th birthday. He's one of only 20 people in the state with Batten disease, 5 in the Grand Rapids area, which is part of the problem. No one knows about Batten disease.
By making more people aware of it, hopefully we can increase funding for it and increase the research as well.
The Geers say they're racing against the clock, and for Jacob, it's ticking fast. Too fast. But this family of 6 with kids ranging from 10 years to 9 months isn't giving up hope. They make the most of every day with Jacob and make it their mission to share a story.
With the decline that we've seen over the last year, we know that this is probably going to be the last decent summer for him.
In Caledonia, Rachel Ruiz, 24 Hour News 8.
The annual Batten Disease Awareness Days are this weekend. In just minutes, you'll hear live from the Geer family in our studios.
We'll have more on the disease and the difficulty of having a child with this rare and deadly disorder. Back now, and more on a rare and debilitating disease that strikes only 500 people in this country, including a handful of folks right here in West Michigan. It's called Batten Disease, an inherited disorder affecting the nervous system. It's often diagnosed in children and is always fatal because there's no cure. It begins with behavioral issues, slow learning, clumsiness, or stumbling. And over time, people with Batten disease suffer mental impairment, seizures, and eventually lose their sight and their ability to walk. It's a heartbreaking disease and a reality for 5 families in West Michigan.
Heartbreaking indeed, Brian. Here in studio with us tonight, Rob and Chris Geer, who we profiled just a few minutes ago with Rachel Ruiz, actually did their story. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. Tell us a little bit about the early days with Jacob. When did you start noticing that there might be something up with this?
He had the complex medical history that has made him delayed in every area. He's been tube fed for almost 5 years. And what triggered it is he started having seizures when he was 4.
Okay.
And it was pretty tough. At one point they were every 2 minutes apart. And it just didn't go with everything else that he had had going on prior to that. We ended up with a new neurologist that we hadn't worked with before, and we pursued another diagnosis for him. And we did a muscle and skin biopsy. And the skin biopsy gave us a clear diagnosis of Batten disease.
I see. So that's how it was determined. We know that this weekend, June 6th and 7th, National Awareness Days for Batten disease. This is a disease that many people have never heard of, including yourselves at the time.
Correct.
What happened? What were you going through when you found out about Batten disease?
A lot of numbness, not really realizing, is this real? Is this just a possibility? It took several weeks before it really sank in. This is what we're dealing with. And now we got to find what do we do from here? Where do we go? What research needs to be done? And began the fight at that point.
And what did you find? Not a lot of information out there.
No, there's not. The BDSRA, the Batten Disease Support and Research Association, has been a great source for information. Even that we had to search out to find them. There's there's not a whole lot of support. There's not a whole lot of local information available. Research is sporadic at best, just because there's not funding for it, because it's not well known. Nobody's funding the research to help find a cure.
Right. I noticed in the piece it's an inherited disease. How would you know that this is in your family history, or how did this come about?
It's a genetic disease, and what would be is both parents would be carriers, and each child that would be born would have a 1 in 4 chance of being affected by the disease. There could be a 2 in 4 chance that they would be carriers, and then a 1 in 4 chance of not being a carrier or affected. Unfortunately, Jacob was that 1 in 4 who's affected.
How can people help with this? How can they get the word out? I mean, just to get people familiar with the term Batten disease and what they can do.
Just increase the awareness. You know, the more people that know about it and know what a horrible disease it is, the more of an opportunity there is to increase the funding for the research and help find a cure.
Rob and Chris Geer and Jacob, of course, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time with us tonight, and hopefully this will shed some light on this disease.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brian?
Yes.